Hey there. Ever feel like you're running on a treadmill? Tons of effort, but going nowhere.
Mm,
Well, today, we're diving into a practical guide
okay.
that promises to help you break free from that cycle and achieve laser-like focus.
Interesting.
Yeah,
What's interesting about this guide is that it doesn't just throw a bunch of random tips at you.
right.
It's actually designed as a companion to a book on mastering focus. So it's all about taking those big ideas and turning them into actionable steps.
Okay, so we're not talking about some fluffy self-help stuff here.
No, no, no.
This is about getting down to brass tacks and figuring out how to actually implement these focus strategies.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, sometimes these guides can be a bit overwhelming.
Absolutely. They can feel like a to-do list in themselves.
Right.
That's why we're here to distill the essence, the real game changers, and help you apply them to your own life.
Because let's face it, we all have those moments where we feel scattered, right? Like we're juggling a million
Yeah.
things, but not really making progress on anything truly important.
It's the classic busy but not productive trap. And one of the first things this guide does is help you understand exactly where you're getting stuck by breaking down focus into what it calls the focus trifecta.
Ooh, I love a good trifecta.
Yeah.
So tell me more about this focus trifecta. What are the three types of focus it highlights?
Well, it starts with short-term focus, which is all about concentration. Think of it like that intense burst of energy you need to power through a complex task.
Okay.
Then there's transitional focus, which is about the planning and routines that bridge the gaps between those focused bursts.
So it's like the glue that holds everything together and keeps you from constantly switching gears.
Right, exactly.
Got it.
And finally, there's long-term focus,
Okay.
which is all about having a clear vision for your future and making sure your daily actions align with that bigger picture.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're going, it's easy to get sidetracked along the way.
Exactly.
So how does the guide suggest we figure out which of these areas we need to work on?
It actually encourages you to rate yourself in each of these areas on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'd ask you while you're listening, where do you feel strongest? Where do you feel like you could use a boost?
That's a great point.
Hmm.
I'm definitely more of a short-term focus kind of person.
Yeah.
Give me a challenging task and I can hyper-focus for hours. But long-term planning, not so much.
And that's the beauty of this self-assessment. It helps you pinpoint those areas where you might be unknowingly sabotaging your own focus. And once you know your weaknesses, you can start implementing targeted strategies for improvement.
Now, speaking of improvement, the guide also dives into this concept called the productivity puzzle. What's that all about?
Well, it outlines different levels of productivity, starting with the all too familiar procrastination,
Uh-huh.
then moving on to working on the wrong tasks, then working on things that don't really move the needle in your life.
Oh, I know that one. Well, I call it spinning my wheels.
Exactly. And then you finally get to working on the right tasks, but maybe not doing them in the most effective way. And finally, the holy grail of productivity, working on the right things in the right way. It's like a ladder, and each rung represents a level of productivity.
So it's not just about working on the right things, it's about working on them smartly.
Hmm.
Like that. But I have to admit, sometimes, even when I know what I should be working on, I still find myself procrastinating.
We've all been there. And that's why the guide dedicates a whole section to understanding and overcoming procrastination. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about recognizing the patterns and developing strategies to break free.
That's encouraging. I'm definitely curious to learn more about those strategies.
But before we jump into the how-to, the guide really emphasizes the importance of figuring out what you truly want. Because when you're working on things that genuinely light you up, focus becomes much easier.
It's like that saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But how does the guide help you figure out what that thing is?
Well, it includes this really thought-provoking 15-question self-assessment. One question that really resonated with me was, if you could spend your day exactly the way you wanted, what would you be doing from morning to night? It's not about creating a rigid schedule, but rather uncovering your deepest desires.
That's a powerful question. It really forces you to think about what truly matters to you, doesn't it?
It does. And the goal is to align your actions with those desires. Because when your work feels meaningful and purposeful, focus becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural flow.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about time management, it's about aligning your actions with your values and passions.
Yeah.
But what about the practical side of things? How does the guide suggest we actually plan for success without getting overwhelmed?
Well, it lays out a really clear framework, starting with your big picture vision, then breaking that down into yearly goals, 90-day goals, weekly goals, and finally daily goals. The key is to break down those potentially daunting aspirations into manageable steps.
So like building a bridge from your dreams to your daily actions, right?
Precisely.
Okay.
And one of the things I love about the guide's approach to goal setting is its emphasis on SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
I've heard of SMART goals before, but I've never really understood how to apply them effectively. Can you give me an example of how the guide suggests using SMART goals to improve focus?
Absolutely. Think about it. We often set these vague goals like be more productive, but a SMART goal would be something like write for 1 hour every morning before checking email.
Mm.
It's specific, it's measurable, and it's definitely achievable.
Wow, that's a great example.
Mm.
I can already see how framing my goals that way would help me stay on track and avoid distractions.
Exactly. And that brings us to the next key element of the guide developing what it calls ruthless focus.
Ooh, ruthless focus sounds intense. Tell me more about that.
Well, ruthless focus is really about being intentional with your time's attention. The guide offers some really powerful strategies for eliminating distractions and learning to say no to things that don't align with your goals.
Okay, so it's about setting boundaries and protecting your time. I could definitely see the value in that. But how do you suggest we actually go about doing that?
One exercise the guide suggests is answering questions like, if your time was reduced by 95%, what tasks would you still perform?
Hmm.
It forces you to prioritize what truly matters and cut out the fluff.
Wow, that's a tough question. It really makes you think about what's essential and what's just busy work. I'm starting to see a theme here. This guide is all about getting clear on your priorities and then ruthlessly protecting your time and energy so you can focus on what truly matters.
You've hit the nail on the head. And that brings us to another key principle. The guide highlights the power of less. It's this idea that by focusing on fewer things, we can actually achieve much more.
That sounds counterintuitive,
hmm
but I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this power of less. How does it actually work?
Well, think about it. Are you juggling multiple projects right now?
Yeah.
The guide suggests that by focusing on one major project at a time, we can make significant progress and avoid getting bogged down by context switching. It's like that old saying, chase two rabbits, catch none.
Oh, I totally get that. I'm definitely guilty of spreading myself too thin.
Sure.
Sometimes I'm always starting new projects before finishing the ones I've already started.
Hmm.
So the key here is to pick one thing and give it your all until it's done.
Right, exactly. It's about resisting that shiny object syndrome and learning to give your full attention to the task at hand. And it's not just about projects, it can apply to any area of your life. What one thing could you eliminate from your schedule or to-do list to create more space and focus?
That's a good question. I think I definitely benefit from streamlining my social media use. So I
Yeah,
spend way too much time scrolling mindlessly.
that's a great example. And remember, this isn't about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices so you can focus on the things that truly matter to you. Now, shifting gears a bit, the guide also dives into the importance of mastering your energy, not just your time.
This is something I've been struggling with lately. I can plan my day perfectly, but if I'm feeling drained and exhausted, it's hard to stay focused.
You're not alone. And the guide has a great quote that really drives this point home. You can either be focused or distracted, but you can't be both at the same time. It's a reminder that focus requires energy, both mental and physical.
So it's not just about having a clear to-do list. It's about having the energy to actually tackle those tasks, right?
Exactly. And what's interesting is that the guide emphasizes that focus is as much about physical well-being as it is about mental strategies.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I've definitely noticed that when I'm not taking care of myself physically, getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, my focus suffers big time.
It's all interconnected. If you're running on fumes, it's going to be that much harder to cultivate mental focus. So think about it. What are some small changes you could make to your daily routines that would support your energy levels?
Maybe it's getting an extra hour of sleep, going for a walk during my lunch break, or swapping that sugary afternoon snack for something more nourishing. I could definitely see how those small changes could make a big difference.
Absolutely. And speaking of small changes that can make a big difference, let's talk about the guide's approach to combating procrastination. It's not about willpower, it's about having the right strategies in place.
Oh, I am so ready to hear about these strategies. Procrastination is my arch nemesis. What kind of tools does the guide offer to help us break free from this evil villain?
Well, it lays out a practical 10-step process. And the first step, which I think is really insightful, is all about understanding why you're procrastinating in the first place. Are you afraid of failure? Do you lack clarity on what needs to be done? Or are you simply lacking the motivation to get started?
That's a great point. I think a lot of times I procrastinate because I'm afraid of not doing a good enough job. I get caught up in perfectionism, which leads to paralysis.
I hear you. And the guide addresses perfectionism as well, reminding us that you are exactly where you're supposed to be doing exactly what you're supposed to do. It's about progress, not perfection.
That's such a powerful reminder. I need to write that down and stick it on my wall.
But getting back to the 10-step process for overcoming procrastination, one step that I found particularly relatable was identifying the story you tell yourself to justify procrastinating. You know, those little narratives like, I work better under pressure, or I'll have more time tomorrow.
Oh, yes, I know those stories all too well. I'm the queen of I'll do it later. But I'm starting to see how recognizing those patterns is the first step to breaking free from them.
Exactly. It's about becoming aware of those self-defeating patterns and replacing them with more empowering beliefs. And the good news is that the guide doesn't just identify the problem, it offers practical tools and techniques to help you move through each of the 10 steps.
This is all so fascinating. I'm really starting to see how this guide goes beyond just surface level tips and provides a deeper understanding of the underlying causes of our focus struggles.
And it doesn't stop there. The guide also delves into this concept of shiny object syndrome, which I think a lot of us can relate to.
Well, tell me about it.
Mm.
I'm constantly getting distracted by new ideas and projects. It's like my brain has a built-in radar for shiny objects.
Well, it dives deep into why this happens,
Okay.
exploring common pitfalls like believing in magic pills, getting overly excited by new beginnings, giving up too easily, and spreading ourselves too thin.
Uh-huh.
It then provides a powerful framework for overcoming this syndrome, emphasizing the importance of a mastery mindset.
A mastery mindset.
Yeah.
That sounds intriguing. What does that involve?
It's about shifting your focus from quick fixes and instant gratification to long-term growth and deep understanding.
Okay.
It's about embracing challenges and seeing setbacks as opportunities for learning.
So instead of chasing the next shiny object, you're committed to mastering the one you're already working on.
Exactly. And a big part of developing this mastery mindset is learning how to select the right information and evaluate the value of the resources we invest in. The guide has some excellent questions to ask yourself before signing up for that next course or buying that shiny new productivity tool.
Like what kinds of questions?
For example, asking yourself, is this product what I need to achieve my current goal? Is this product even for me? Do I have the necessary skills and motivation to make the most of it? And is this the right timing? It's about being intentional and strategic with your choices.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hype and end up wasting time and money on things that don't actually serve us.
Absolutely. And the guide also encourages you to cultivate this mastery mindset by focusing on repetition, mastering the fundamentals, trusting the process, thinking long-term, being consistent, and staying extremely focused.
Uh-huh.
These are all essential qualities for achieving true mastery in any area of your life.
It sounds like a recipe for success in any field, not just productivity.
Exactly. And one of the most practical tips the guide offers for developing this mastery mindset is to schedule your learning. It provides a 7-step process for doing this effectively, starting with deciding exactly what you need to learn and finding the most suitable resources.
So it's about being proactive and carving out dedicated time for learning instead of just hoping it will happen.
Precisely. And the guide emphasizes active learning, encouraging you to implement what you learn and make it a daily habit. It's not about passively consuming information, it's about putting that knowledge into action.
That's a key distinction, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one thing to read about a new technique,
Yeah.
but it's another thing entirely to actually put it into practice.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a common challenge that can really sabotage our focus and productivity perfectionism.
Oh, yeah.
The guide offers some valuable insights into overcoming this often debilitating tendency, reminding us that you are exactly where you're supposed to be doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
That's such a powerful reminder. It's so easy to get caught up in striving for perfection.
Right.
But the guide emphasizes that progress, not perfection, is the key.
It's about embracing the journey and recognizing that there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
It's about giving yourself permission to be imperfect and to learn and grow along the way.
It's about letting go of the need to control every little detail and trusting that you're doing the best you can with what you have. Because at the end of the day, that's all any of us can do.
Exactly. Now to wrap things up, the guide provides a comprehensive list of 17 strategies to boost your focus. These strategies are grouped into 5 categories: knowing what you want, planning, effectively building momentum, reducing distractions, and managing your energy well.
Okay, so it's like a toolkit for mastering your focus with different strategies for different challenges.
Exactly. And remember, the goal isn't to implement all 17 strategies at once. It's about finding the ones that resonate with you and incorporating them into your life in a way that feels sustainable.
So it's about customizing your own focus plan based on your individual needs and preferences.
Break precisely.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is to be patient and persistent.
Yeah.
Mastering your focus is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, but the key is to keep moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time.
That's such an encouraging message. I think we often get discouraged when we don't see results immediately. But it's important to remember that real change takes time and effort.
Absolutely. And the rewards of mastering your focus are well worth the effort. Imagine being able to achieve your goals with ease, feeling calm and in control of your time, and having the energy and clarity to live a truly fulfilling life.
That sounds amazing. It's like unlocking your full potential.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge. Choose just one strategy from this guide that resonates with you and commit to trying it for a week. Really give it your all and see how it impacts your focus and productivity.
Maybe it's creating a morning ritual, scheduling uninterrupted blocks of time, or practicing that 10-step process for overcoming procrastination.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, make it yours. Own it and watch as you begin to unlock the power of your own laser-like focus.
Remember, you have the power to create the focus you desire. It's all within your reach.
Until next time, happy focusing.